Hey, welcome back. Glad you could join me. We're still working on the wiring on the 51 Ford pickup. It's been a tough job, tedious to say the least, but it's coming along, and I'm happy to say that we're getting much closer to finishing. So today we're going to work on the Dakota Digital system, and it's really a nice package. From what I could tell, all the Dakota Digital is quality stuff, and it seems like each one of their products is unique to like the specific vehicle. So on the 51, we've got 2 round gauges that are to be installed for display, and then the control modules are going to be part of that system, and then the wiring in between. So stick around, let me just show you how I'm going to do it. So this is where the display is going to be, right behind the steering wheel, of course, and that's it's a 2 round gauge system. The reason we're going to put in Dakota Digital is because with modern stuff that we're putting into this truck, the LS engine, all the other electronics, it just makes sense to do that, and Dakota Digital is really a nice system. So that's the display where I'm going to mount the control box and the brains of the system. I'm going to be using the glove box area to mount a panel there, and that's the only way we could fit this all into the truck, because underneath the dash it is just jam-packed with our air conditioning evaporator hoses, and then also just behind the gauge cluster is going to be where the ECU sits for the LS. So it's been a job, and so let me just show you the parts that came with the system. And all of these schematics, those are for the other fuse box. So the brains of the system are here and here. The BIM 102 is going to interface to the ODB port. That will also connect to, I think it's the aux output, or IO, on the controller, and then discrete lines coming in from speedometer, fuel, temperature, engine temperature, and oil pressure. So they're going to be discrete lines, but the other data that's coming into the Dakota Digital system is going to be coming in via the ODB port. So it picks up everything else. And then what gets also connected to this in order to put on the display gauge will be turn signals, headlights, high beam, low beam, what else, brake, and I believe gear, current gear that you're in, so park, drive, reverse, neutral, etc. So that's the main controller, and then they give you a nice wiring diagram, and it's a lot of detailed information of how to hook things up. So let me just show you the parts on the car and locations of where some of these sensors are going to go. But before we look at the car and location of sensors, here are some of the cables and sensor adapters. So we have this was from the BIM module, and this is going to connect to the ODB port, and then I think that goes in connects to the aux IO. Here's a switch So you can cycle through different colors or different modes, or how things are displayed on the gauge cluster. Cables and adapters. And then here are the two gauge displays in the cluster. So I still have this cover on there. But this one shows fuel, temperature, oil pressure. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, and I guess if the alternator's working, the charge. And then on this other display, we have speed and tach. So that should work great. And then also, what you really can't see are turn signal indicator lights, high beam, low beam light indicator, and check engine light. So that's all integrated into one or the other of these displays. So let's take a look at the car, or the truck, where some of the sensors are going to go. The oil pressure on my truck, I have an adapter at the oil filter. It's this bright color. It's hard to see there, but the oil filter is blue, connecting to this adapter. And on the adapter is a port. So the sensor for oil pressure is going to get connected in there. So that's one thing. The engine temperature on the driver's side, we still have the sensor for the ECU, so that's not going to change. But what they did is Dakota Digital provides an adapter, and it's tough to see again, but down on the back edge of the head on the passenger side is a port that's available, and so we've got to take out that plug. So there's a water temperature sensor that's going to go there. And then for speedometer, there is well, I can't climb under the car right now because I just had eye surgery, so I just can't do it. But believe me, there is an interface to the speedometer and a cable that's going to be connected to it, or the speed sensor at the transmission, and then brought up into the controller I/O ports. And then the same for the fuel. That the fuel sender will interface and go into the controller module. So those are the discrete connections. So the first thing I'm going to do, I made up this plate that I've got to get configured to at least mount behind the glove box. So on this bottom edge, I'm going to put some through bolts and fasten it down to the back side of the dashboard. And then we're going to lay out the module on this panel, and then the BIM module. What I actually wanted to do was that one switch that switches between different, I guess, displays or display configurations. I wanted to try to mount it on here, but I just don't have the room, so I'll have to mount it under the dash or someplace inconspicuous, but easy to get to. And then the other thing that has to be mounted is the ODB port for the truck, and then the connection between the BIM module to that ODB port. So that's where the BIM module grabs data off of that CAN bus and provides it up to the gauge cluster for display. So let me get working on this plate. I've got to make some cutouts so that I don't interfere with the hinges on the glove compartment. And then we'll drill holes, mount our panels. And then after that's done, I'll be connecting into that oil pressure, or put the oil pressure sensor into that port near the oil filter. And then the same for the water temperature and engine temperature on the passenger side to connect in that line. And then I'll have to feed them up through. Well, I used two holes on the firewall. I was trying not to use this one, but it would make sense to feed those cables up, and hopefully I'll have enough length to do, you know, the full stretch instead of you know, splicing in extra length. So we'll see what happens. So we kind of have this panel jammed in between the mount for the glove compartment door, and my idea was to have this bin module, and I hope this doesn't interfere. Unfortunately, this may not work. Anyway, what I wanted to do is mount this guy in here, route those cables over to the gauge cluster. I think that would work. And then I wanted to have the bin module alongside of it. But because of the hinges of the glove box, they kind of, when you close the door, they push in towards that panel. So there's going to be interference there. So may just have to mount this further away from the glove box door, and that might work. Let me snug up these. Just snug these this hinge up. Pinch this mount. May have to put a couple screws in here just to make sure this panel doesn't shift around. Now, that might actually work. Give me a few minutes, and I'm just gonna tape those modules in there just to make sure that they don't interfere with the hinges on the glove box. I think we have a solution to how we can mount this, and I like it. I've got this bracket, this panel pinched underneath the hinge of the glove compartment, and that closes and opens nice. We also kind of just pinched and held in these two modules, and I think they're going to work out really well. We've got plenty of room to service and to add you know, our sensor connections, and then also, you know, it's not ideal. The bin module is turned sideways, but we're still going to be able to read the display off of it if we have to. And so it just, that layout looks clean to me, and I think that's going to work fine. The one place that I was thinking about putting the ODB port is maybe in the side, and I don't know if that's going to work, but maybe in the side of the glove compartment, you know, face, or someplace up here. I just don't know yet. If it has to go underneath the dash, we have room for it, and it will stay out of sight, you know, just out of the way, which is really what I want. So that all looks good, and I'll start drilling mounting holes, and cleaning up that metal, and prime it, paint it. The other thing about this location is the Cat5 cables coming off of the control module. They have to go over to the display cluster So we have plenty of cable, plenty of length to do that. So that's going to work. Let's see what else. And then whatever sensors we've got to connect and then fish wires up into the cab. They'll come underneath the dash at that second opening on the firewall and be fed up in. We have a grounding block mounted over here on the right side of the glove compartment, and then power where it's needed and ignition will come off the key switch. So I think it's gonna work out pretty well. So I'm happy about that. So let me get working on drilling out holes and clean up that mounting plate, and then we can mount those modules in there and then start adding our connections to it and the sensors. Well, we made holes drilled into the mounting plate that's going to go in the glove compartment area, so I painted that, so that's drying. But in the meantime, I was trying to think of a place to put this switch. So it's labeled 1, 2, and it apparently has different modes. You use it to calibrate the tachometer for 6, 8 cylinder or 4 cylinder, whatever. And then also parts of the display can be modified. So there are directions in the documentation. But I was trying to figure out, well, where's the best place to put it? And lo and behold, I had this spare spot from, there was maybe the light switch was here in the stock configuration, but I just didn't know what to do. I was going to plug this, but that lends the perfect opportunity to use this switch right here, because it's related to the gauge display. It's right there, so I think that's going to be great. So that kind of serves two purposes. It plugs that hole. I don't have to mess with it anymore. Plus, it's a perfect location for this switch. So I drilled it out a little bit further. I've got to use an angle grinder or die grinder to open it up just a little bit more. It's got these pinch catches, so let me make it a little bit bigger and see if it'll fit. Well, I think it works. This is perfect. It fits just nicely. So let me check on that bracket to see if the paint's dry yet. If not, we'll go ahead and put maybe the water temperature sensor in. So way down here on the passenger side of the head is what I think is a T50 nut, bolt, whatever, that goes into the head. So you can take that out and the water temperature sensor can go in there. Here's a bag of the hardware package. And so what they give us is 3 cables. One of these is for the water temperature sensor. And here's that sensor, I believe. So it's a 2-pin connector. That's a 3, this is 2. So this combination. Now, the one question is, how hard is it to get out this old plug from the head? I didn't realize this. I should have tried to get that out, and you can kind of see it. It's right down there, right alongside the header flange. So that could be a job. So let me see if I can get that taken out. I was wrong about the T50 Torx fitting for that. It's actually a number, it's an 8mm Allen. I couldn't see down there, so I took a picture just to be able see in there, but I still couldn't tell if it was an Allen or if it was something else, like a Torx. So I've got 8mm Allen, and I'm gonna work on trying to get this thing out. I might need a little bit of extra leverage. It's a tough fit, but I may have to get a pipe to loosen it up. Well, that was very surprising. It came out really pretty easily. So it was a 8mm Allen, and there's the plug. I hope now that I've got an adapter. I don't know what the thread is on this plug. I don't know if I'll have to research it, but I have a bag of adapters. And these adapters, I hope there'll be one that will fit. But we've got a smaller diameter on the sensor. I know that that's not going to fit. The adapter, I hope, will work. That's not good. I guess if worse comes to worse, I can call Dakota Digital to get the right one. Now let me see. That looks close. That looks like that would work. Let me get a set of calipers, or I can even just try this. Plug into screwed into the head and see if it fits. Let me just do that. So this adapter fits. The sensor fits, so it looks like it's gonna work out really well. I guess it's all pre-engineered that it's gonna be. So the depth of this throat is about the same as this plug. So that shouldn't interfere with anything. But what I'm gonna do is put some, it looks like there is a washer on this adapter, like a squash washer, or crush washer. But I'm gonna put some Teflon tape on here anyway. So we'll use both. And then we'll put Teflon tape on the sensor going into the adapter. And then insert into the block, fish cable from the sensor up to the control module area. Hopefully I've got enough length. If not, we'll have to splice in some more. So, like this. Snug that up. That should be good. All right. Let me go put it on the head. I thought I had a good fit on this adapter, sensor adapter, but there's one piece missing. I broke off the tip of the adapter, part that screws into the head. And now I've got that stuck in the head. So I'm gonna have to use an easy out and hopefully be able to retrieve that piece of the stud. I have a few easy outs here, different sizes, so I should be able to get it out. But I read in the warning on the description of installing this part, and they say take special care, but I read it too late. They said screw it in, hand tighten, and then another quarter of a turn after that, and that should be good enough for a seal, but I cranked on it a little bit too hard. So let me see if I can get this piece out of the head. Well, I got it out, not a problem. Wasn't really in there that tight, but it's apparently a really thin wall. So it just sheared off when I was tightening it. And I really didn't tighten it that hard, but I guess harder than it could handle. So now I've got to try to locate, let's see, it's a 1/8 inch MPT to 12 millimeter bushing. So I'll see if there's one on Amazon, or if not, I'll look around at hardware store or the speed shop, local speed shop in White Marsh. And if I can't locate one there, I'll just have one shipped from Dakota Digital. But disappointed that I broke something this soon, but that's okay. It's not going to be holding up the truck from getting on the road anytime soon, because it's just not going to be ready. So I'll try to locate this part, and then we'll go on to installing the oil pressure sensor. Darn. Well, it's been a few days, and I got some parts that we needed. Got some of the wiring done, hooked up to the Dakota Digital's main control box. So let me show you what I have done. So down there, I did order a new adapter for the water temperature sensor, and I got that installed. I did not break that one. And then we wired up through that, back into the underneath the dash. So I've got to tidy up that cable a little bit, but this whole wire bundle has got to be tidied up. And by the way, I would like to get a cover for my valve covers and coil covers, but I'm not ready to do that quite yet. So on the driver's side, I got the oil pressure sender installed, didn't break any parts, and then I brought that cable up around and into the cab. So that was all done. Underneath the dash, we straightened up a few things, plus I've got a few wires installed for different sensors. So we have the turn signal indicators left, right, high beam, low beam. We're not going to do cruise control. And this gear, I'm not certain we're going to show what gear we're in on the dash, but maybe. We'll see if that, I don't know if that data comes across the OBD port or not. We don't have a 4x4, so we're not going to be using a transfer case switch or anything like that. Check engine light, that's going to go across to the PCM, so I've got to wire that in. I have a wire strung over here, and then this blue guy, so I got to tie that into the PCM. Let's see what else. We straightened up some more of the cables that were on the floor, or wires, and they were mainly, the last ones I just did were from the dash, so I had to add some length to them. It was like 18 inches or so, that they were not quite long enough. And I fished those out through the passenger side, the side of the footboard, whatever it's called. And then that also, what's going to go into this footboard is a panel with a speaker in for radio, and the same on the driver's side. Let's see, what else do we do? That might be it for this wiring. And I have a couple dangling wires here. I've got this one is for the backlight on the air conditioning panel. So I'm going to tie that into the lights on the dash. Let's see, this has got to go to the PCM. This is for the tack connection over here. See, where's the tach? Down here, it's this white wire. So anyway, we got some of that done and that panel installed. I think that's going to work out really pretty well. And then this other cable, this is coming from the speedometer sender, which is tied into the back of the transmission on that tail housing. And I still have to install the sender. So I just haven't gotten under the truck to do that because I still can't do that because of my eyes. Cataract surgery is easy recovery, but you just have to be careful not to lift too much weight or bend over a lot. I've been bending over a lot, but right now I just don't feel like crawling underneath the car or the truck to do that. And then one of the last things for Dakota Digital is going to be hooking up the OBD, and its cable is it's already tied in, and that is coming from where I think it's up. Which one was it? I forget which one it is, but I'm sorry, it's coming from the BIM module. But what I don't have is the OBD, the main port, wired into the PCM. So I've got to do that yet. But things are working out. There's still a host of many things to do. I think I'll probably finish wiring up some of these odds and ends, and I just need to get further down the road. So after we finish hooking as many wires as we know that need to be connected, we've got to go through testing. And so I did some preliminary testing on a vintage air system. The fans work, going into the different modes of defrost or heat. That looks like it's working. But what we have to do is test out the Dakota Digital stuff, and we're not going to know all those details until we start to drive the truck. So I guess that's probably about it for this video. I'm going to end it here so that it doesn't drag on too long. But I will be, the next video or so, 2, 3, I've got to do the engine startup and then check out these other gauges. I'm going to be installing the windshield and maybe some of the side vent window. So that'll be coming up in a short, quick video. So anyway, I just want to say thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and if you found that it was useful, if you could hit the like button, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. I hate to ask people to do that kind of stuff, but it really helps me out. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you the next time. Bye.